regarding Dangote granting an interview saying that there is a cartel in the oil and gas industry. Yeah. First, we must understand where Dangote is coming from. Dangote is a business person. Dangote did not invest almost $20 billion in the refinery to placate Nigerians. He did not invest such amount of money, in the refinery because it's a charity organization. I can tell you that the $20 billion that Dangote invested in that refinery, maybe most of the funds will be borrowed funds, right? What that means is that he will be paying interest in that fund, right? That is what is applicable today. We have a very robust insight into what is happening today, into the price war that is going on between the Dangote refineries as well as government, represented by NNPC in this case. And maybe I can share very few of them with us. So, what clearly happened was that Dangote built his refinery. They started discussing about crude supply. The first thing is that in oil and gas industry, it's highly regulated industry. Today, when you hear that Nigeria is producing 1.6 million barrels of crude per day, some people just take calculator and you calculate how much that will translate to. It is not literally like that. If you produce 1.6 million barrels of crude per day, who is producing this crude? You have all the IOCs. They are into production, right? You have Chevron, you have ExxonMobil, you have NAOC then, or ENI, now part of it owned by Oando. You have Total Energies. You have lots of them in this business. So this crude that they produce in JV, federal government has at best 60% of this crude from JV, while the IOCs, they have 40% at best. So that means in that production, you remove the one that comes from JV. You will disaggregate it. And once you do that, you see the portion that belongs to federal government. Then that means those IOCs, they put money in producing this crude. They are at liberty to sell the crude to whom the highest bidder. They invested in it. I can tell you that one of the platforms owned by Total FPSO, it cost $16 billion to build it. Egina FPSO. $16 billion. Remember, Dangote spent $20 billion building the refinery, right? In one of the fields owned by Total Energies, they spent $16 billion in building it. That means these IOCs, they have also invested, right? But that is the production sharing contract. I've talked about the JV, the percentages. In production sharing contract, the IOC is the one that will invest all the money, 100%. That they will not recover from oil production. While in the JV is a joint venture. So you contribute to cost, you contribute in also taking, you also share the production. But in the PLC, the IOC invests all the money. So in that Egina, the entire cost was invested by Total Energies. The same thing, Agbami, entire cost invested by Chevron. Same era, ExxonMobil, same Bonga of Shell. So that means these companies, they are also here to do business. And remember, if you strangulate them in Nigeria, oil literally now is found everywhere in the world. They are divesting, right? We are even holding them not to go because they want to sell, take their money, invest elsewhere. So what that means is that these companies, Total Energies, Chevron, ExxonMobil, they have their trading companies. So that trading company, they lock in contracts for years. What that means is this. So in 2020, for example, ExxonMobil may have locked down all their production in Nigeria. They may have had off-takers since 2020. They may have had off-takers for 5 years. In 2022, Chevron may have had off-takers for 5 years. That will take all the crude production in Nigeria. So they may have signed contracts with those people. So government literally today cannot come and say, oh, you must take this crude and give to Dangote. It's a bit tricky and a bit difficult because if they also fail in meeting the obligations of their contractors, it will become a problem. So what most of these companies now said is that, okay, in those their contract, they looked at it. There is always a premium that they could play with. Because they are investors, they are also looking for profit. So now, if you want us to supply you immediately, you pay some premium. So that issue of premium was what led to the initial conversations around the Dangote refinery, around, oh, they are not supplying me crude, they are supplying me crude. Because most of these companies were asking for premium. They're coming to the part of NNPC, and we should get this clearly. So NNPC also have their own crude, right? Some years ago, the Buhari government, they went to Afri-Ezim. They borrowed money. And this money that they borrowed, some of this crude were tied to paying back this money. So, literally, what Dangote should have done is that you should have started discussing crude supply 5 years ago. You don't start discussing crude supply 6 months into production. You started 5 years ago, you signed contract 5 years ago, you know that, okay, this is the direction we want to go. This is the honest truth. But people may not come to public to tell you all this. So that opportunity initially was missed. And as Nigeria, some of this crude, we already tied to paying back some of the loans. So they will tell you that 100,000 barrels, for example, they may go to Afri-Exim and collect $3 billion. This $3 billion, it may be tied to 100,000 barrels production of crude per day that will be supplied. So some of them has been tied. And this were done between 2015 and today. I can tell you, we have stocks of all the loans that we're taking and the crude that will go into it. So, let's leave that. Now, coming back today. Dangote as a company, don't owe grudges. If Dangote wants to make profit from his business, he invested money. It's not a charity organization as we have opined earlier. So now, when Dangote now finished his product, when they now sorted relatively the issue of crude, it now went into PMS. It now went into the issue of pricing. So clearly, what happened was this. Today, NNPC is buying crude, is buying PMS, or was importing PMS from abroad, and importing PMS at a certain price. So Dangote said, NNPC, you give me that crude, that PMS that you are importing, pay me the same price that you are paying to Rotterdam. Pay me the same price that you are paying to Malta. But NNPC on their own now said that no, but from Malta and all that, there is a high premium that we are paying. But you are a Nigerian company. So, but as a Nigerian company, we can't pay you the same amount we are using to import. So it became a problem. That is the reality. Forget those plenty letters going on in the press. But what was actually happening was that Dangote has the right to ask for it. Don't misquote what I'm saying. He has the right because he's a business person. He wants to make profit. He wants to pay back his loans. So he was asking, pay me that same amount. But NNPC said, no, we can't pay you that amount. Let's calculate it, with local conversations. Those in the energy sector may know what you call Plat. So Plat is an international price that you use in calculating PMS price. So it's literally fixed depending on mainly the crude oil price. So every week you have the cost, the Plat cost, you have it. So that Plat cost, some people buy from refineries at Plat without a premium. But at a particular time, I'm just trying to manage what I could reveal. So at a particular time, that Plat, NNPC was bringing it in with Plat plus premium. So Dangote at now said you have to pay that premium on top of that Plat. But then I said that you want me to pay premium on top of the Plat, but the crude I'm giving to you, you don't want to pay premium. So if you want me to pay premium on the Plat, you also pay premium on the crude. Because at the end, is the crude that we are going to do net off. So it became another challenge. But as of today, what they've agreed on as of today is that the Dangote is giving PMS at Plat plus 42. So if you look at the release done by NNPC, the last one, you see where they wrote the plat price is the first on that table. When you come under, you now see premium of 42 naira. So that premium initially, what was being asked for was much more than 42, which Dangote has the right to ask. So it was just a contractual issues. It was, issues between them, with Dangote wanting to make profit because he has his right to make profit, but with NNPC on the other hand saying, no, we can't pay as high as that. I don't know if you understand. So that is actually what has been going on between them. But thank God they found a way to resolve it as at today. And that is why in that same table, if you look at the calculation, you have the plat price that was converted to naira. You also have the premium there. Then you now have those agency costs, NIMASA, NMDPRA cost and all that. That now brings it to where it is today. So, as of today, with all those costs imputed, PMS would be around 950 naira per liter. That is what NNPC, both what they will pay to Dangote, what they will pay to NIMASA, what they will pay to NMDPRA and all that, MPA and all. It will amount to about 950 naira per liter. But that product, NNPC takes it at 950 naira per liter. They will now offer it to marketer around 700 naira plus. Because if they offer it at 950 naira, we'll be buying PMS today, maybe up to 1,100, 1,200 officially, even across NNPC stations and all that. So what that means is that NNPC buy it at a cost, but they will now go back and impute some level of subsidy in it. That is the reason why other marketers cannot go to Dangote refinery today to buy. It's not because NNPC is saying they shouldn't come and buy. I want us to really get it clear. That's why I'm spending a lot of time on this. Not that they are saying don't go and buy. But the truth is that if NNPC is buying at 950, not from Dangote, buy at 950 with all the costs imputed in it, and they are now selling at 700 plus to marketers, it means that there is a shortfall that NNPC is managing. But if you ask Total Energies, for example, downstream, to go and buy from Dangote, Total Energies will buy from Dangote at almost the same price, but Total Energy will sell to marketers at maybe 1,000 naira plus. You see the difference? So if Total Energy sell to marketers at 1,000 naira plus, and NNPC is selling at 700 naira plus, which will be cheaper? The one NNPC is selling. And when that now happens, nobody is going to buy that from Total. So that is why all of them, they are staying away and allowing NNPC to buy. So it's not that NNPC wants to be so monopoly. So over this period, we've investigated all this. We've had interactions with all players across board, and we clearly understand what is happening. And this cannot be eliminated in a business environment, most especially in an environment where if there was 100% deregulation, for example, everybody could go and buy, like the AGO. So anybody buy AGO today and sell any amount that you please, nobody would query you. But because there is still some form of under-recovery, if you may say, or subsidy, that is why that distortion is somewhat still there. So why the introduction of subsidy? As we rightly know, last year it was said that subsidy was gone. Correct. As at June, July last year, the country was not paying any subsidy. And you pressmen, I think we should do a lot more of investigative journalism. I have granted a lot of interviews. I have been in TVC, for example, in channels and all that, and I have opined. This was, we kept saying the governors, they are getting more money from fuel subsidy. Gentlemen of the press, from September, October last year, government was paying fuel subsidy. So if you are paying fuel subsidy, how was the governors getting more money? It wasn't from subsidy. It was from devaluation. It was the proceed of devaluation and not proceed from subsidy removal. Why was it devaluation? Okay, as at May last year, right, the official exchange rate was 450 naira. So what that means is that if Total Energies made a profit of, let's say, or if they pay tax to government and that tax they pay to government was $200 million, for example, you are going to convert that money with 450 naira, right? Right? So if you convert 450 naira, you will not see the amount that you are going to make. But as later in the year, early part of this year, late last year, the exchange rate moved. So if Total Energies today make a profit of $200 million, you are going to multiply by 1,600. So that is more naira. In the port, they will tell you that if you import a car, that you are going to, that is going to be 30% of the value of a car, right? So you import a car of $100 million, for example. 30% of it is $30,000, right? Before now, you were converting that $30,000 with 450 naira. So the money you will pay from your pocket to clear your car was $30,000 times 450, right? But today, the money you pay in clearing your car is 30,000 times 1,600 or thereabout. So you see that you are paying times 4 of what you used to pay. And that money you are using to clear your car, we go to customs, we go to FROIS, we go, at the end, that is why you see FROIS declaring more naira, that they have made trillions of naira within a little time. That is why you are seeing customs telling us that they are making more money. It is because of devaluation and exchange rate. And where does this money go? Majority of this money goes into the federation account that they are going to share. In fact, that is why they have more naira to share. It is not because the proceeds from subsidy. That narrative, almost all the pressmen, whenever I listen to them, I say, no, let's do a little more digging. We shouldn't just take narrative from government and run away with it. And because we knew this, to also come to your point, because we knew this, what we did from the TUC end, powered by Pengas and Azadeh, was that when we saw the exchange rate was sliding, as of September, October last year, we ran to the stakeholders and we told them that, please, let us manage, give a special exchange rate. Give a special exchange rate to those the distributors in the oil and gas sector, most especially the downstream. So that if that exchange rate was frozen at about 700, if they were using 700 naira in doing their calculations, there wouldn't really be subsidy. But you will say you are subsidizing the naira end. So that was what we advocated. And this was what was applied from September last year till almost recently. But when we were doing this advocacy, because we saw the danger that if you start using 1,600, that is going to be problematic. When we did the calculation, that if they are using 1,600 in giving PMS product, that the subsidy on another basis will be over 12 trillion naira. So we knew that this is not sustainable. And that was why we were doing this advocacy over this period. But the more we shout, the more we try to explain, but it seems Nigerians did not truly understand where the real problem was. Until you see, in February, later in April, we did a World Press Conference, where if you go and check that document, it's about, I can't remember the number of pages now, where we profile solutions on what we think government should do in order to manage our exchange rate and in order to keep this in check. Because devaluation does not just affect petroleum products alone. What is under, if, for example, our exchange rate was at 450 naira to $1, PMS today will be selling for around 320, 350. So the main issue wasn't really the removal of subsidy. The main issue was that devaluation. If naira was 450 naira to $1, if it was 450 naira to $1, PMS would have been less than 400 naira. So you see where the real problem is. The real problem is that devaluation. And we believe, we are still pushing and we are still advocating, that government cannot float its currency 100%. No government in the world does that. Maybe the US, because they are standard reference. But every other country, go and check the history of China, check the history of Japan, check that of Russia. They manage their currency one way or the other. And it is also difficult in totally floating a currency where you don't control the supply per se. where you don't control the supply. Because when there's a shortage in supply, what we happen to demand, shortage in supply and constant demand, the price is going to move. And that is the conundrum that we are today. I think I have dwelt on this, and I think I have touched on one or two other subjects. So you talked about the working of the refinery. Yes. You know, most of those refineries, they are actually brownfields. I mean, most of them, they are relatively old, and they were left untouched for a very long time. Today, we have our Pengasa members working across the refineries, Port Harcourt, Kaduna, and Warri. Our members are all there. They are working, but they've drawn down the numbers. Actually, maybe as of today, we just have about 2 or 3% of a membership strength. We just have about 2 or 3% of a membership strength that ought to be in that refinery. What that means, when the refinery was fully operational, the membership strength will be maybe somewhere around 500 to 800. But today, the people working there, they are less than 50 because they are giving support to those carrying out the maintenance. From our last count, because once in a while we have interactions with our members there, and we also have a Pengasan chairman there, so we have interactions with them to know where we are. We know, we can ascertain that yes, job is currently going on across all the refineries. In fact, if you visit Port Harcourt refinery, you are going to see over 2,000 workers from the contracting company working there. But what I will not be able to attest to is when those refineries will come to work. Even the GCO will not be able to tell you categorically today that you come to work tomorrow or not, but all we could attest to is that, yes, work is going on against what has happened in the past. Against what has happened in the past, where we are being told that there were turnaround maintenances, when truly they were not. But if you visit those refineries today, you will attest to yourself that work is going on. But when it will come up, we cannot say. You heard the case of Aeroton. Aeroton today was forcefully taken over by NNPC. Aeroton bought some of the share assets those days. So these are companies, these are practical cases of local companies that bought over some of the fields, hitherto managed by the IOCs. But they couldn't really operate because all they were just doing was to extract oil till the well gets dried. Now, the challenge is this, gentlemen of the press. The challenge is actually this. You know, oil and gas business is not cheap. Oil and gas business is a petrodollar business and is highly capital intensive. I have told you that Total Egina, one field alone, $16 billion. So how many banks in Nigeria will be able to fund a project of that magnitude? If you join all the banks, capital base together, I'm not sure they can fund a $16 billion project. That shows you how capital intensive the projects are. So what that means is that most of these IOCs, they have strong technical and financial partners all over the world. So an ExxonMobil can come and bring a business of $20 billion and put in Nigeria, and they will get partners because ExxonMobil is, if you go to New York Stock Exchange, London Stock Exchange, all the great entities of the world, they are listed. So they can easily attract funding. They can easily attract because over the years, they have developed that partnership, they have developed their credit worthiness. But a company like Aeroton, it will be difficult for Aeroton to go to PNB Paribas or to go to Bank of America or go to Bank of China to attract funding. So that is the conundrum because it's capital intensive. So part of what NUPROC is doing that we like, that made us to adopt that their 6 pillar and 6 cardinal framework is because before they allow you to come into they will check your finances. They will check, will you be able to fund these projects? Will you be able to develop these fields? Will you be able to manage, because crude oil field, once you finish drilling, start production. After a few years, a field that was producing, let's assume, 100,000 barrels per day, if you don't do the right maintenances, without the right investment, without the right carrying out well cleanup, carrying out well stimulation, well performance enhancement, those fields that was producing 100,000 barrels will not be able to produce up to 20,000 barrels. You understand where the challenges are? So you must invest in it. So most of these local players, Some of the successes are there. First A and P, doing very well. Seplat, doing very well. But they are very few. A lot of them had not done well. So that is why we are really skeptical. And also, what concerns us again, because why we want them to do well? When they do well, they will employ more members, right? They will employ more people who will be our members. When they do well, Pengassan will also flourish. But when they don't do well, a few years down the line, they will tell us that they want to do redundancy. So that is why we are interested in who buy that field. That is why we are interested in how they regulate the divestment processes to ensure that it's sold to people that are capable, not just political cronies or political friends. Then on, okay, yeah, thank you, Business Day, Basi, yeah, Profile Solutions. Okay, so the 45%. So now, if you own 45% stake, you know, the refineries today, the government owns 100%, right? 100% owned by government. But we are saying that government should reduce the stake to 49 and give her 51. Why? Today, in NLNG, government owns 49%, right? But it's working. It's working because you need 51% to take decision. You need 51% to take decision. You don't need the other 49, yeah, minority. You can shout. But decision is taken by the majority shareholding. So that is why we are advocating. We are not saying government should go and own 51%. That will become problematic. But owning 45%, what that means is also giving us energy security assurance. That also, because if you own 45%, you can say, okay, if tomorrow, if the price is not right, and Dangote, so this is the reason behind it. If the price is not right, as of today, Dangote can say, I want to take my 100% product and ship to different parts of the world. The fertilizers produced today, most of them go abroad, right? So, if you don't have shareholding there, they can say, we take everything out. But if you have like 45%, you could say, okay, you take your 55% out, give us 45%. So it will kind of show up our energy security, but it will not make government to make decisions. You can't make decisions with 45% shareholding. So decisions are made when you have 50.1% shareholding. So there is no problem regarding taking us to the past, not at all. But it's just to ensure that there's energy security. Because as we've said, Dangote is a businessman. If all these are over, if nothing is going well, he can import his crude from any part of the world. He can take his PMS product, AGO product to every part of the world. Remember, he operates in a free trade zone where he's not even governed by most of the laws in Nigeria. So he takes his products out and nothing is going to happen. So, but for us to have that energy assurance and accessibility to energy, that is why we are doing that advocacy. You say? No, you know, initially, NNPC wanted to buy 20%, right? But Dangote encouraged them to buy. Okay? Dangote encouraged them to buy, but NNPC backed out. So what that means is that Dangote is open to such conversations. And I know that he's open to such conversations. So if he was ready to sell 20% earlier, and we were also pushing for government through NNPC to buy that 20%. But unfortunately, they could only afford that 7%, but they said because of business exigencies, they didn't continue. So we are encouraging them to go in that line. But anyhow, let them improve from that 7% that is currently, for us, we think that is too small, because Dangote was willing to offer 20, and if the price is right, they could even offer more, but nothing up to where they could take controlling decisions. Thank you. Then on, okay, I was talking about subsidy resurfacing. Okay, so again, I've also touched a bit on the last increment, what necessitated it, and comrades and gentlemen of the press. If we don't, so what we are advocating today is this. This is what we are advocating today, that we have been having conversations with them to say that 1,600 naira, if you see that NNPC template, they use 1,637 naira, if you remember. or thereabout. It was 1,600 plus they used in doing the conversion. So if you take that template today and you apply 1,000 naira, you will see where the PMS price is going to be. It will come down drastically. It will go down by maybe up to 40%. So we see that the main devil in it is that exchange rate that was used. So over this period, we have been having conversations with them. And we should also get to a point, and I must say this, we should also get to a point that full Nigerians, as Pengasan, we are primarily responsible to our members. I must say that. Primarily responsible to our members. In TUC, we are primarily responsible to the workers under TUC. The Nigerians, we must collectively take responsibility. We must collectively take responsibility. Elections will be coming. Elections are coming. You see, let's leave presidency. Let's leave federal government. Let's come to our local constituency. That you have a local government having 3 representation from one local government, for example, or 2 representation, which means that this person to represent our local government is within a sphere. We all know them. You see 3, 4 people contesting an election, or at best, you see about 20 people contesting an election. You see a man, this man is in XYZ party, that's relatively unknown. But you know that this man is good in terms of character. You know that this man is good in terms of intelligence. You know that this man is good in terms of capacity. Maybe he's a university lecturer, that his salary is 120,000 naira. But you will abandon him. You will abandon him. You will now run to the money bags. These are the people that will go to your local assembly, not the one going to Abuja. The one going to your local assembly. We will now populate our local assemblies with people who does not know anything, with yes sir men, with people that the governor will just lock in one room. They will be there for 2 years without even saying anything. Then policies are now made in the state that these guys will rubber stamp. Then after all these, you will now say, where are the labor unions? No, sir. No, sir. I don't represent such labor unions. I will tell you the truth. Go to America today, comrade. Do you even know the name of their labor center in America? You have political parties checkmating themselves. You have Democrats shunning our policies. You have Republicans challenging them and telling them that those policies are not right. We must develop those capacities in Nigeria. You see elections. You see hot debate. You see people pursuing issues. People are voting based on the economy. You look at, this product, when Biden was there, or when Trump was there, what was it costing me? Biden is there today, what is the cost? So you take decision based on how you feel it in your pocket, how it affects your family. But in Nigeria, we take decision based on 1,500 and 2,000 naira. Then after you are taking all those decisions, you will not say, and they are not implementing things that you do not say labor. No, sir. I don't represent such labor, I'm sorry. So collectively, we must all take responsibility. Everybody. We must all take responsibility, come together and discuss the direction this country must go. Then evaluate what happened, okay, in the last summit, yes. So we've had some fallout. Okay, let me just take one because we want of time, because we've said a lot. Because we want of time. In the last summit, for example, gentlemen of the press, please, let's calm down a bit. We are rounding up now. This is just the last thing I will say and we'll go. In the last summit, for example, if you remember, in fact, the first 2 summits, we talked about contract staffing and their condition and welfare in the oil and gas industry. So we talked about it. So we took some of the recommendations that came out from that summit. So we now came together, we sat together and said, okay, why do we work literally? It's first to take care of our families, to take care of our basic needs. So what we've done is that we looked at it that the route, if we want to push, for example, to say Total Energies, convert all your contract staff, it's going to take, the energy will be much more. So yes, even that is the desired destination that we'll get to tomorrow, but what we now did in the last 1 year is that we have tried to put the condition of service in the oil and gas industry in the right stead. And without missing words, a lot of improvement has been done in terms of condition of service in oil and gas industry, from the IOCs to government agencies to services to contracts. We paid specific attention. Because of a fallout from that summit, specific attention. If you were there in Abuja summit last year, where I made a response on that contract staffing, and we told the captain of industries right there that we were coming after them for them to do what was right. And today I could tell you that a lot of these companies, they've gotten 150% salary increment, 100+ salary increment, and the people are relatively happy. In fact, in some instances, with the right combinations, up to about 200%. So that was a fallout from the summit. And also as well, the fallout from that summit last year, we also advocated that, remember, the October summit came after the issue of subsidy was gone. Last year's summit was in October. So after the subsidy was gone in May. So we started advocating. It was also part of the comment that came from the summit that in oil and gas, the business is done in USD. That's so when there is devaluation, it shouldn't really affect oil and gas workers. Because if you are doing your budget in USD, then you should just take the same USD, you convert with 1,600 and get it paid to workers. So we marked that rostrum last year. It led to several industrial disputes. It led to several strikes. Some of the IOCs, we have to shut them down for 2 weeks. Some 2 weeks, an additional 2 weeks, 1 month, we shut them down. Some of them were producing 300,000 barrels of crude. We shut them down for close to 1 month for them to do what was right. And I'm glad to report that as a result of the conversation we had in that summit, we were able to come out strongly. We were able to push these IOCs to do what was right. And relatively, I could tell you that our members in Pengasan are happy. Solidarity. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.